This video will cover the application of String.collect in F#, and what this function allows us to do is to take an input string and manipulate that string in some way and then return an output string as a result. In order to see how that works, let's define an input string to begin with. So input, and we're going to name this string or just fill it with hello world. That seems appropriate. So what we would do then is we would define an output string, and we would take our input and we would then send that to this function. And this function, as I said before, is called String.collect. So it's part of the string library. And what we would provide is a lambda expression, so a function in these parentheses here. And that function should take a character that we're going to call C now and return a string. The logic that we're going to put in place now is quite simple. So we'll just say if C equals, and then we'll put just a blank space in here. So if we have a space, then what we will return is an empty string. Now note that I'm using the single quotation marks here and the double quotation marks here, and the single ones are used when we refer to a character, the double ones are used when we refer to a string. And because this function needs to return a string, we would use the double ones for the return here. We would then say else, and what I'm going to do here is simply return the character that we're looking at, but I'm going to cast it to a string. So again, we need to return a string from our function, so I will use an explicit cast to get it to the string type. Lastly, I'm going to print the string, so string and then output. All right, if we save that and execute what we now have, we should see the application on our input string. Now, if we think about what we did here, we have a function now that loops or iterates over all the different characters in our input string and then applies this behavior that we see here. Now, if this is a space, then we will replace that with simply a blank space, or not a space, but we will remove the character. And if it's not a space, then we will return the associated character. And you can see the output here. We simply say hello world, but the space has disappeared. So that's the functionality that we see here. Now, we can get a lot more fancy with this and do complex functionalities, but this is the essence of how String.collect works.